गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शंकरौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरम्। हरि ओम। We will have the Namasmarana. Please try to repeat after me. Hastamalakam ज्ञानभास्करम् हस्तामलकं ज्ञानभास्करम् अद्वैतविद्या कांतिभासकम् हस्तामलकं ज्ञानभास्करम् अद्वैतविद्या कांतिभासकम् अमृतवर्षा श्लोकरूपिणम् अध्यासभञ्जक సద్గురుమూర్తిం సద్గురుమూర్తిం అమృతవర్ష అమృతవర్ష శ్లోకరూపిణం శ్లోకరూపిణం అధ్యాసభంజక అధ్యాసభంజక సద్గురుమూర్తిం సద్గురుమూర్తిం అజ్ఞాననాశక అజ్ఞాననాశక బ్రహ్మోపదేశం బ్రహ్మోపదేశం మహాయోగి మహాయోగి నిజబోధరూపం నిజబోధరూపం శంకరశిష్య శంకరశిష్య జీవన్ముక్తం జీవన్ముక్తం నిత్యోపలబ్ధి నిత్యోపలబ్ధి ఆత్మస్వరూపం ఆత్మస్వరూపం అజ్ఞాననాశక అజ్ఞాననాశక బ్రహ్మోపదేశం బ్రహ్మోపదేశం మహాయోగి మహాయోగి నిజబోధరూపం నిజబోధరూపం శంకరశిష్య శంకరశిష్య జీవన్ముక్తం జీవన్ముక్తం నిత్యోపలబ్ధి నిత్యోపలబ్ధి ఆత్మస్వరూపం ఆత్మస్వరూపం హస్తామలకం హస్తామలకం జ్ఞానభాస్కరం జ్ఞానభాస్కరం అద్వైత విద్యా అద్వైత విద్యా కాంతిభాసకం జ్ఞానభాస్కరం కాంతిభాసకం జ్ఞానభాస్కరం Before we go into the text, we will also offer our prayers in the form of invocation to seek the blessings divine, and these prayers, or in other words slokas of invocation, are actually rendered by Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji before he begins the bhashyam, Shankara bhashyam on Hastamalaka Stotram or Hastamalakiyam. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji renders these slokas. We will perform this invocation. We will see the in-depth meaning of these slokas at a later time, where there is more convenience to us. यस्मिन् ज्ञाने भवेत् सर्वम् यस्मिन् ज्ञाने भवेत् सर्वम् विज्ञातं परमात्मनि विज्ञातं परमात्मनि तं वन्दे नित्यविज्ञानम् तं वन्दे नित्यविज्ञानम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् यदज्ञानादभूद्वैतम् यदज्ञानादभूद्वैतम् ज्ञाते यस्मिन्निवर्तते ज्ञाते यस्मिन्निवर्तते रज्जुसर्पवदत्यन्तम् रज्जुसर्पवदत्यन्तम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् यस्योपदेशधीधित्या यस्योपदेशधीधित्या चिदात्मानः प्रकाशते चिदात्मानः प्रकाशते नमः सद्गुरवे तस्मै नमः सद्गुरवे तस्मै स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे हरिः ओम। Nature of eternal self. When we look at ourselves, whether we have a clear understanding about our nature or not, others definitely have. They keep telling us, you better change your nature. At least then they will tell us when they are affected by our behavior, our interactions, our relationship, then they will remind us. And sometimes when they are very happy about our interactions, our behavior, then they will tell, very good nature, very divine nature. So, as far as our individuality is concerned, our identity with the personality is concerned, people are aware, our near and dear are aware. Either directly or through them, we are also aware of our nature. But that is quite different from the nature of the eternal self. The small self, the egoistic self, you and I are aware. At least we are made to be aware of it. Others will help us to become aware of it. But the nature of eternal self is something different from it. Something other than it. So we need to look into the consciousness. Consciousness as such, or consciousness itself, is the screen upon which everything is reflected. In other words, everything that is there manifests out of this consciousness, comes out of this consciousness, if we have to use those words. But when we look at the consciousness from the highest standpoint of Vedanta, it is only an appearance. The entire creation or whatever has appeared is only an appearance. And the easiest way to understand that is, or for the masters to make us understand is, to tell us that it is a reflecting surface where everything is reflected. So consciousness itself is the screen upon which everything is reflected. Or when we go and then watch the TV or the movie, when we sit in the theater, the screen is there upon which the whole movie is projected. And only because of the screen we see the movie. For this movie of creation to go on, there has to be a screen, and that screen is the consciousness. And that is the substratum. And still further, it is said that this consciousness is IPS. ये कहाँ से आ गया? Consciousness is IPS. I, innate. P, primordial. S, substrate. Substrate means substratum. For the silver that appears on the seashell, because we don't see the seashell directly, we see silveriness on the seashell. So for that silveriness to shine and appear, the seashell is the substratum. For the snake to appear on the rope is the substratum. Like that, for the world to appear, that substratum is the consciousness. For the movie to appear, in a limited way we can think the screen is the substratum. For the building to stand, the foundation is like the substratum. But substratum is much more bigger than that, vaster than that. Primordial means from the beginning, ever since the beginning. When the beginning began, since then. Innate means natural. Innate also means native or innermost, inborn. So that natural substratum which is there since the beginning. It is the substratum for anything and everything to begin. That is why consciousness is innate, primordial substrate. And it is this innate, primordial substrate called as the consciousness illumines the faculty of witnessing, observing awareness. Witnessing, observing awareness. What illumines this faculty of witnessing, observing awareness? It is this consciousness. So, this faculty called as witnessing, observing awareness comes out of consciousness only, manifests out of consciousness only for a better understanding, for our limited mind to understand. So, these words can be used, manifests out of consciousness only. Consciousness itself manifests as the witnessing, observing awareness. So, this consciousness, which is innate, primordial substrate, illumines the witnessing, observing awareness. This witnessing, observing awareness is also called as the light of the self. Light of the self, self Atma, light Prakasham, Atma Prakasham. This is seen as an impersonal automatic capacity that is ever present. It is always present. And it is impersonal automatic capacity. And this witnessing, observing awareness, which is also called as the light of the self, is not subject to editing. Nobody can edit it. It is not subject to volitional alteration. Nobody can alter it. Nothing can alter it. Generally, when we look at the things that are there in the world, they can be influenced upon, they can be altered, they can be changed, they can be edited. But here, this awareness is not subject to editing or alteration. This is a formless faculty which just is on its own. It is there on its own because it is a manifestation of consciousness, and consciousness is there. Consciousness is divinity. Divinity is, in another way, if we want to understand, godliness. It is there on its own. You and I did not bring into existence. That because of which you and I came into existence. And the existence itself came to exist only because of the consciousness. And this witnessing, observing awareness, which is illumined by this consciousness, it can not be altered, or in other words, it is unaltered by any experience or any concepts. No concept can bring about a change. Each philosophical sect has its own concept. Everybody thinks and believes about God in their own way. Each concept is different from other concept. But these concepts cannot bring about a change in the awareness. Any experience can never bring about a change in the awareness. Awareness itself provides the light for the experience to be known. And this witnessing, observing awareness is like the surface of a pond. It is like the surface of a pond which reflects everything. On the surface of a pond, if it is not disturbed by anything, if it is serene, calm, and then it reflects as it is. If the surface of the pond is not disturbed by various things, then it reflects as it is. Just like that, everything is reflected as it is, illumined as it is, by this very awareness. This witnessing, observing awareness actually does not act. It is not like you and I get into action, activity. It does not act. It has no purpose or goal. There are no purposes, there are no goals. Anyone who has identified himself or herself or oneself as that light of awareness, as that witnessing, observing awareness, what else one has to achieve? What else one has to acquire? All goals come to an end from the human standpoint. But from that standpoint, there are no goals, there are no purposes. When you and I look at ourselves, we talk about a purpose, we talk about a goal, and unless and until a person is chasing the goal, is after the goal, we think he is goal. Everybody has to be occupied and busy in pursuing something or the other. Then only others around us will accept. What are you doing? You have to say something. How are you? You should say something. How is life? How is it going? So we should say something. That means always everyone else around us expects us to be involved in some goal and some purpose. Because we have to gain so many things. We have to achieve, acquire. We want so many things. So we need to have goals. And there has to be a purpose. But for that awareness which comes out of the very consciousness, where is the need for it to act? That is what Bhagavan Sri Krishna also tells to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, that there is no need for him to do any action. There is no duty, there is no responsibility for him. He need not do anything. Because everybody does something or the other to fulfill oneself. When divinity is itself the fulfillment, and what more the divinity has to do? And for what fulfillment? It itself is the source of all fulfillment. And what more we expect the divinity to do? That's what, from that standpoint, Bhagavan Sri Krishna also tells to Arjuna that I don't have anything to do, but still I do. That's a different thing altogether. Only for the sake of the good of the humanity or the beings, he does something. Otherwise, there is no need for him to do anything. So that is why this witnessing, observing awareness, which here we are calling it as the reflecting surface of the consciousness, where everything is reflected, does not act, has no purpose, has no goal. What goal it has to have? When it is itself, it is the ultimate divinity, and it exhibits no favoritism or oppositions. There is no favoritism, there is no opposition. From our standpoint, we are always stuck in this. Always stuck in this. Wherever we are, whatever we do, we have these two things: favoritism, opposition. Favoritism, opposition. These words are new, but traditionally this is called as raga, dvesha, likes, dislikes. But because we are used to that, different set of words: favoritism, opposition. We show favoritism to some, we are opposite to some. That is there naturally. By birth we have these likes and dislikes. Unless and until we go beyond birth and death and then attain that level of awareness where it is just aware as the light of the self, then there is no favoritism, there is no opposition. That is why this witnessing, observing awareness has no favoritism, no opposition. From that standpoint, there is nothing. So, for Sri Rama, for Sri Krishna, when they are fulfilling their duties, dharmic duties, even when they put an end to those people who are adharmic, finally those adharmic people's individual souls will go and merge in the divine only. Till now they fought and they finished those negative minded people, but finally they go into them only, they merge into them only, because they have no favoritism, no opposition. And it is also said that this awareness does not edit or distort. Why do you and I edit or distort things that we come to know when we have to communicate to others? Either orally or verbally or through words, through writing, through statements. We distort, we edit. Why do we edit? Why do we distort? Because we have favoritism, because we have opposition. Even when we look at others also, we always do this editing, distorting. Because we have this inside. We add something if we have favoritism. We subtract certain things and sometimes everything if we are opposing. So editing, distorting goes on. But from the standpoint of awareness, which is the light of the self, because we are talking about the nature of eternal self, to get into that we need to have some understanding about this. That's what we are trying to do. So it does not edit, it does not distort. That is why it is always silent and peaceful. The light of the self is always silent. Awareness is silent and peaceful. Witness is silent and peaceful. Observer is silent and peaceful. Witnessing, observing, awareness is silent and peaceful. Look at our mind. Very rarely it is silent. Even more rarely it is peaceful. Why? Because there is always editing, there is distorting, there is favoritism, there is opposition, there are purposes, there are goals. When all these things are there, how can it be peaceful and how can it be silent? But for awareness, for the light of the self, there is no purpose, there is no goal, there is no favoritism, there is no opposition. There is no editing, there is no distorting. So it is peaceful, so it is silent. That is why there is silence, that is why there is peace. That is why all those great Mahatmas and Mahapurushas who reach that level of awareness, they are silent and peaceful. And sometimes people from other parts of the globe come and see these great Mahatmas who are just enjoying their divinity. They think these people are a burden on the society, not doing anything, not running anywhere, not working, not acting, not having something to achieve always, not chasing anything, not talking about their disappointments, not behaving like you and I. That is how people's minds are. When a spiritual person is in the spiritual pursuit, the onlookers attribute all these things. You might be spiritual from your standpoint. You might be focusing on awareness, consciousness. What does it matter to us? What are you doing? Are you doing anything? Are you getting anything? Are you gaining anything? Are you giving anything? This is how the world is. That is how the mindsets are. But this witnessing, observing awareness is silent and peaceful. Not only that, it cannot suffer any loss. Or profit from any gain. It will not profit from any gain, it will not suffer from any loss. No suffering due to loss, no profit due to gain. No profit and loss account. No need to balance sheet or anything. It is already balanced. There is no suffering of losses, there is no profit from gain. This is the reflecting light of the self. This is the light of the self. If at the awareness level it is like that, a step ahead is the level of consciousness. When we understand this awareness, because we do understand, we become aware of things very rarely because of some satsang, because of some injunction, some direction, some suggestion, due to the words of the Guru or the words from the scriptures, we become aware. At least we mentally we try to know. When we attempt to become aware, this awareness. Suddenly we become very alert, very vigilant. Suddenly we are disconnected with what we are identified with till then. Suddenly we feel we are different. Momentarily also we feel, if we think that we are a witness, we are an observer, we are only aware, we will not be affected by whatever we are aware of, whatever is witnessed, whatever is observed, we are not affected by that. Momentarily also. What to say about that very awareness, that witnessing, observing awareness, the ultimate witnessing, observing awareness, why it will get affected? If that itself is not getting affected, that itself has no purposes, no goals, no favoritism, no opposition, no editing, no distorting, no loss, no profit, no suffering. What to say about that very consciousness? When we understand the nature of awareness, a step ahead is the nature of consciousness. So, nature of eternal self is nature of that supreme consciousness. From two different levels we are trying to understand this. As light of the self, as witnessing, observing awareness, and as pure consciousness. So this light of the self is the primordial I, the real I, the original I, which is the substratum, which is the basis for all subjectivity. That is what in Bhagavad Gita also when Sri Krishna says, surrender unto me, I will liberate you. What is that I? It is not I which we call as I. It is beyond this very small I. It is that primordial I which is there since beginning. Everything began in it only, because of it only. If at all we count any beginning. Otherwise it is beyond time, where the time also doesn't exist. But from our standpoint, we count time, so we have to say beginning. So it is easy for us to understand that since the beginning it is there. Actually in it there is no beginning, nothing begins, nothing ends. The substratum for this light of the self is absolute truth of reality, which we call as consciousness. Out of that absolute truth of reality, which is called as consciousness, arise the life and existence. So the substratum for the light of the self is pure consciousness. This absolute reality, which is the substratum for this light of awareness, is beyond easiness, amness and beingness. It is beyond easiness, beyond amness, beyond beingness. Once, Mr. Badri attended an interview. The interviewer, who is a very wise and experienced person, said, I have conducted so many interviews, you also have attended so many interviews. It was for a top post. So the interviewer said, let us have something different in this interview. All that you have to say is, give me the opposite for what I say now. I will ask you only one, at the most two things. That's all I will ask. Not more than that. Be alert, not more than that. Give me the opposite of what I say. The candidate said, okay. So he started thinking about opposites. Give me the opposite of what I say. Then this interviewer said, made in India. Give me the opposite. Made in India. And the candidate said, destroyed in Pakistan. Made in India. Opposite of it, according to the candidate, destroyed in Pakistan. This interviewer was thrilled, because earlier nobody gave any opposite. Because they said, no, it is not there in any book opposite. What is opposite of made? What is India? How is opposite? What is? They were confused. But this man made it made in India, destroyed in Pakistan. So the interviewer was overjoyed. He said, keep it up. And that candidate continued, put it down. The interviewer said, keep it up. He is actually praising, he is so overjoyed. But this man still thinks the question continues. Keep it up, put it down. And then the interviewer was so full, he said, maximum. Meaning he indicated that you got maximum marks. Maximum. Nothing more needs to be required. Maximum, he said. Nowadays they use all texting language, So that is why you can't understand only properly what they are trying to do. So it's a maximum. And immediately that candidate said, Maxi Dad. It's a maximum. He said Maxi Dad. Then the interviewer said, Abhi ye chalte rehta iska. He is not going to stop. He said, enough, take your seat. enough, take your seat. And that man says, don't take my seat. The opposite continuing. Enough, take your seat. That man says, don't take my seat. And the interviewer gets angry now. A little irritated. Idiot, take your seat. Idiot, take your seat. And this man says, clever, don't take my seat. And then the interviewer says, I say, you get out. The interviewer is irritated now. I say, you get out. And this candidate, Mr. Badri, says, you didn't say, I come in. And finally the interviewer says, I reject you. And that man says, you appoint me. See how it concluded. So I reject you, you appoint me. The interviewer is now dazed, he don't know what to say. Because he gave perfect answers. Our mind is trained to understand what it has to understand by looking at the opposite. Then only we can understand the depth of it. Otherwise we can't understand. Otherwise we can't know the glory of the right if there is no background of the wrong. The glory of the day is understood only when this is the background of the night. For our limited mind, the methodology to understand is like this. But for that awareness, where there is no duality, where there are no two, where it is only one, where it is one without a second, the understanding is totally different. At the level of the self, it's totally different. That is why it is beyond. That is why those who have attained that self are totally peaceful and silent in themselves, with themselves, and with everything else in this world. It is only those who are identified with their egos are always restless. Wherever they are, whatever they do, whatever they don't do. Of course, the intensity of restlessness varies according to the purity and impurity levels inside. So then, Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, in one of his famous writings called as Mahavakya Darpanam, he has written so many things. One of that very deep explanation of the Mahavakyas is Mahavakya Darpanam. In that, in the sloka number 182 in Mahavakya Darpanam, Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji talks about the nature of eternal self. In his words, we will try to look at it and grasp something from it and try to understand it. Antarbahishchaika raso niranto vyomeva purnam nirupadhirekah nirantarananda ghanodvitiyah tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi. Antarbahishchaika raso niranto vyomeva purnam nirupadhirekah nirantarananda ghanodvitiyah त्वं प्रत्यगात्मासि त्वं प्रत्यगात्मासि सदाशिवोऽसि सदाशिवोऽसि अंतर्बहिश्चैकरसो निरन्तो व्योमेव पूर्णं निरुपाधिरेकः निरन्तरानन्दघनो द्वितीयः निरन्तरानन्दघनो द्वितीयः त्वं प्रत्यगात्मासि सदाशिवोऽसि त्वं प्रत्यगात्मासि सदाशिवोऽसि. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, explaining about the nature of eternal self, says Tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi Tvam pratyagatmasi. Thou art pratyagatma. Thou art not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not the memory, not the ego, not this individualistic self, not this personality. Thou art Pratyagatma, innermost self. He is telling us about our true identity. Whenever anybody asks us our ID cards, we display various ID cards. When we enter, we punch certain cards. When we exit, we punch certain things. When we transit, when we are in transit, we do take certain ID cards, passports, so on and so forth. And we also try to take Aadhaar cards where they are going on giving one after the another. And again they find out that information is not correct. The information in ID is incorrect, and that is the ID they gave. That goes on. Too many people handle. So everybody types in whatever they want to, as they like. So same person appears in two different places, and different faces and different names. Already this is a world of Maya. There is another Aadhar Maya. It goes on. But the true identity is Pratyagatma. Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. You are always of the auspicious nature. If you are present, everything auspicious only. See, there are two things here. One is, everything that happens is only auspicious. Another thing is, you see only that which is auspicious. Whatever might be happening around, who can stop if you have decided to see only auspicious? If your vision penetrates and sees only the underlying substratum of divinity in everything, depending upon our evolution of consciousness, the more pure we are, the more deeper we see into this world. And then the purest people, they see only the divine. When they see the divine, it is always auspicious. So that way also, Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. Thou art Pratyagatma, innermost self. And Pratyagatma also means the highest self. Nothing beyond it and above it, greater than it. Thou art Pratyagatma, innermost self, highest self. How are you? How is this Pratyagatma? Antarbahishcha raso niranto. Antarbahishcha ekaraso niranto. Always it is of one form, one kind. Where? Inside, outside. Vyomeva purnam nirupadhirekaha. Like this space, you pervade inside and outside and fill everything. Space is inside this hall, outside this hall. Inside this body, outside this body. Inside this cell, outside this cell, there is space. Inside the atom, inside the subatomic particle, there is space. Outside, there is space. Inside, outside, everywhere, there is space. Space fills everything. Like this space, you pervade inside, you pervade outside, and fill everything. Oh, you fill everything. That's what you are telling me. I'm inside, outside. That means I am inside, I am outside, I feel everything. So I must be influenced by everything. Is it not? If I am with one thing and two things, that itself it is very difficult for me to handle. One desire if it is there, one craving it is there, one disturbance is there, one tension is there, one agitation is there. Is it easy for us to handle? Very difficult. And if you are connected with everything, how difficult it must be. Connection with one only, it is very difficult to handle. Our own mind is difficult, and if you have to relate with another's mind, see how difficult it is. To bear our mind only is not easy, to bear others' mind also, and to live along with it, how difficult it is. Not easy thing. But being connected with everything, filling inside, outside, and it is said very beautifully, Adi Shankaracharya says here, you are in that Eka Rasa, of that divine rasa, of Ananda. That means what? You have no relationship with the objects. You are not attached. Even though you feel inside, outside and everything, you are inside, you are outside and you feel everything, you have no relationship with anything. And you are not attached with anything. Like this space, the space fills inside, outside. Is the space attached to anything? Is the space affected by anything? Is the space actually related to anything? No. Much more subtler than this space. Antarbahishchaika raso niranto vyomeva purnam nirupadhirekaha. Inside, outside, filling everything, but still you remain as you are. No relationship whatsoever, no attachment at all. You are unattached. You have no relationship to bind. Vyomena purnam nirupadhirekaha. Nirupadhihi ekaha. There are no upadhis. For this eternal self, there are no upadhis, there are no limiting adjuncts. For us, there are so many limiting. Body is there, upadhi, mind is an upadhi, indriyas are there, intellect is there, ahankara is there, chitta is there, all are upadhis only. For a space, pot, we call pot as an upadhi, a limiting adjunct, which limits the all pervasiveness of that space, which apparently appears to limit. Pot is an upadhi for the space, like body is an upadhi for all pervading consciousness like. So there are so many upadhis we have, limiting adjuncts. But for the pure consciousness, there are no upadhis. No upadhis of body, mind, sense organs. Nirupadhirekaha. Thou always remain in one changeless form. Ekaha, changeless form. That ekaha also means Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata, Bheda, Rahita, iti ekaha. There are no differences of any kind. No differences are there. Not the differences of the same class or a different class or in oneself. No differences of any kind. Even though trees is one class, that mango tree is different from guava tree, it is different from a pear tree, it is different from some other tree, apple tree. So there is no sajatiya, no vijatiya. A stone is different from a tree. No difference of vijatiya also. Swagata also. Like roots are there, trunk is there, branches are there, leaves are there, flowers are there, fruits are there, all differences are there. No swagata. No differences of any kind. No difference only. So, thou art without any differences, thou art one without a second. And not only that, Nirantarananda Ghano Dvitiyaha. Nirantarananda Ghana. You are of the form of continuous blissfulness. Ghana also means complete, auspicious, permanent fullness. Complete, auspicious, permanent fullness of blissfulness. You are that continuous blissfulness. Nirantarananda Ghano Advitiyaha. You are non-dual. Thou art not divided by anything, separated by anything. Thou art not torn asunder by anything. There are no changes, there are no reversals, there are no contrary things, there are no distractions. You are beyond all these things. That is why it is said, you are beyond time and beyond space. No divisions of time, no divisions of space. No division of objectivity, no division of any kind. Thou art such an indivisible, changeless, blissful consciousness. Nirantarananda Ghano Dvitiyaha Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. So, this eternal nature of yours is not different from the eternal nature of Brahman. And that Brahman is the supreme consciousness, that is always auspiciousness. Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. Antarbahishchaikaraso niranto vyomeva purnam nirupadhirekah nirantarananda ghanodvitiyaha tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi. If we contemplate upon these points which are given by Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, explaining what is the nature of eternal self, the more we contemplate and we try to meditate, the more closer we get to this eternal self. And all these things which are said about the eternal self will start reflecting in us as our own qualities. We will start experiencing initially, and finally we will remain as that eternal self. The whole purpose is that only. How to take us to that highest level of eternal self and make us be one with it. A person was driving his car and he approached a stop sign, and in that place there were cameras and strict rules. Everybody follows the signs. So there was a stop sign. But this person did not stop. He just proceeded. Some people slow down and then go. Some people make a rolling stop and then go. Some people really stop and then proceed. But this person just slowed it and then proceeded. He went ahead. And within few minutes, there was this traffic police inspector who was chasing him and then overtook him and pulled him aside and then stopped him and then asked him, "Show me your license, show me the insurance." And then that man was surprised. Why the heck I have to show? He said, "Did you not see the stop sign?" "I saw." "Did you stop?" "You didn't stop," he said. What does it matter? What the heck is the difference? I just slowed down. What's the difference between slowing and stop? I don't see any difference. He refused to accept. The police inspector says, you did not stop. And this man says, what the heck is the difference between slowing down and stopping? I don't see any difference. This argument went on. And that policeman got irritated. He took out the lathi, stick, pulled him out of the car and started hitting straight on the head. Went on hitting. And then he asked, now tell me, should I slow down or stop? Now tell me, should I slow down or stop? Definitely that fellow will say, stop. That's the difference. Slowing down and stopping. When we contemplate upon these highest truths, when we go deep into this contemplative meditation, not only that the mind slows down, but it stops also. When it stops, there are glimpses that beam out from that very light of awareness and consciousness. It has to slow down, it has to stop. This nature of eternal self is to slow down our minds and then stop them, meaning to take us into a state of no mind. So after seeing an introduction to nature of eternal self and also an explanation about the nature of eternal self by Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, now we will look into the causes for this Hastamalakiyam to appear. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, we all know that he had 4 disciples: Sureshwaracharya ji, Padmapadacharya ji, Totakacharya ji and Hastamalakacharya ji. Once when Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji was on his yatra, he stayed in Mookambika temple, goddess Mookambika temple in Kollur in Karnataka. And at that time, he also visited a nearby village called as Sribali. And when he went to that nearby village called as Sribali, in that village, there was also a traditional Brahmin who was living there by the name Prabhakara, who was very noted for his Vedic knowledge, Vedic chanting and various other satsangs connected with Vedas. He came to get the darshan of Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji when he went there to the village called as Sribali. And this Prabhakara, in spite of his Vedic knowledge, being a genius in Vedangas and Vedanta and so on and so forth, was not looking all that happy and contented. Adi Shankaracharya ji understood this. And then Prabhakara had a son with him, his son with him. And he said that is the cause for his lack of contentment and satisfaction. That this son, who was of 7 years of age at that time, when Adi Shankaracharya met them, the father Prabhakara said, I think this fellow is a congenital idiot. He has no signs that other children have in learning knowledge, in interacting with others. I tried my best to make him a normal, intelligent boy, but nothing happened. This boy's mind is totally undeveloped. I tried my best to teach him or make others teachers teach him. He has not learned even alphabets. I am so good in Vedas. He is no good in Veda. Alphabets only he doesn't know. What Vedas he will chant. And when the boys of his age call him to play, he doesn't go to play. He doesn't go to play only. And sometimes when they come and beat him, he is not bothered. They beat him, he is not bothered. They call him to play, he doesn't play. Sometimes he eats, sometimes he doesn't eat anything for days to come. समझ में नहीं आ रहा इसके बारे में. I am not able to understand this fellow only. You please teach him something. Please bless him so that he will learn something, he will become all right. Hey, Guru Adi Shankaracharya ji, said Prabhakara, please bless him. Ashirvachan de do. Please bless him. Set him right, please bless him. Then it is said that Adi Shankaracharya ji asked a few questions to that boy. Because it is said when he came, when he was asked to prostrate to Adi Shankaracharya ji, this boy prostrated and did not get up for a long time. Stayed there only. We will come to know later why it was like that. When we meet our near and dear, for a few seconds we can't say anything, we can't talk anything, we are so filled with joy that we remain like that. When we meet the dearest, closest, for whom we had been waiting since a long time, what happened? Later on we will come to know in what level they are dearest. So father asked Adi Shankaracharya ji, and Adi Shankaracharya ji asked him few questions. Who are you? Why are you behaving like this? Your father says that you are behaving like a inert thing. Kya baat hai? And we'll go into the details later. But this boy says, I am certainly not an inert thing. Even an inert thing becomes sentient in my presence. He says, even an inert thing becomes sentient in my presence. He says, I am of the nature of infinite bliss, free from hunger, thirst, grief, delusion, old age and death, and free from the stages of birth, existence, growth, change, decay and destruction. I am free from all these things. What an answer. Imagine if you go and ask some kid, who are you? And if he says, then later on it is said that this boy then expounded the gist of all Upanishads in 12 verses, which became famous under the name Hastamalakiyam. Because this knowledge of the Atman was very clear to him as a Amalaka fruit in one's palm, so he was called as Hasta Amalaka. Hasta Amalaka. So then Adi Shankaracharya ji told the father of this boy Prabhakara that this son whom you think is dumb and idiot and fit for nothing, he knows Atman. by the virtue of his purity of practices in previous births. He knows what his inner self is. He is having Atma Gnanam. He will do better if he is with me. I will take him with me. Leave him to my care. So then Adi Shankaracharya took him. Later on it is said, Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji was explaining to other disciples about this boy, and Adi Shankaracharya ji told them, this is all recorded by Swami Vidyaranya in Shankara Vijayam. So it seems Adi Shankaracharya ji told them that when this boy was of 2 years of age, his mother went to the river bank and then she had to take bath because of some festival day or whatever it is, some thing. So there was a great Gnani sitting under a tree. So this mother left the boy to the care of this Gnani and she went to take bath. Then what happened? This child accidentally fell into the water and then died, left the body. Then the mother started crying and weeping. So this Gnani took pity on the mother, left his body and entered into the body of this 2-year-old boy and made it come alive. Ever since then, this boy is totally different. Because he is a Mahagnani. So naturally he is attained. Attained, he knows what his self is. So he can't suffer loss, nor he will go for profit. There is no favoritism. There is no opposition. There are no likes. There are no dislikes. There is nothing to edit. There is nothing to distort. He is always in his level of awareness of his own consciousness. So Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji narrated this to other disciples. So this Hastamalaka gave these 12 verses, and this became very famous by the name Hastamalakiyam. Very rarely, generally what we see, when the Guru writes something, the Sishyas write commentaries, explanations, so on and so forth. Very rare that a Sishya says something and Guru writes a Bhashya. Very rare. On these 12 verses of Hastamalaka, which tell about the essence of Vedanta, Adi Shankaracharya has written Bhashya on it. Now we can see what is the greatness of this Hastamalakiyam. Sri Adi Shankaracharya writes Bhashya on this. Adi Shankaracharya felt it has to be explained further for the benefit of the spiritual seekers, for the benefit of the humanity, so that they can be uplifted and transported into that dimension of eternal self. One who is already there, and Adi Shankaracharya himself is ever there. It is a product of two people who are nothing but eternal self, who are not different from that nature of eternal self. So let us read the question asked by Adi Shankaracharya ji. Sri Shankara Uvacha Kastvam Shishokasya Kutosi Ganta Kastvam Shishokasya Kutosi Ganta Kim namate tvam Kutagatosi Kim namate tvam Kutagatosi Etanmayoktam Vadacarbhakatvam Etanmayoktam Vadacarbhakatvam Matpritaye priti Vivardhanosi Matpritaye priti विवर्धनोऽसि कस्त्वं शिशो कस्य कुतोऽसि गन्ता किं नाम ते त्वं कुत आगतोऽसि एतन्मयोक्तं वद चार्भकत्वं मत्प्रीतये प्रीतिविवर्धनोऽसि मत्प्रीतये प्रीतिविवर्धनोऽसि. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji says in a very cheerful tone, He Sisho kaha tvam. O child, who are you? Kasya, whose child are you? Kutaha asiganta, whither are you bound? Or in other words, where are you going? Kim namate, what is your name? Tvam kutaha agataha asi, whence have you come or from where have you come? Simple questions. And Adi Shankaracharya also says, He Arbhaka, Tvam maya yad uktam etad mat pritaye vadacha. Please tell me what I have asked you for the sake of my love. And Preeti Vivardhano Asi. Preeti Vivardhanaha Asi. Since you ever increase my love, you are ever increasing my love for you, please tell me what I have asked you for the sake of my love. Here, when Adi Shankaracharya calls this boy, Hey Arbhaka, oh child or oh young one, this child is a child who is already established in his wisdom. He is not childish, he is childlike. He is established in his wisdom. Sri Adi Shankaracharya recognized this glorious state, whereas the father did not recognize. It is said that a pearl is there and the mother of the pearl is there. The mother of the pearl, which is the shell, it does not know the value of the pearl, and it does not know how to decorate and adorn itself with the pearl to beautify itself. But those people who know the value of the pearl will try to acquire that pearl and try to adorn themselves and also adorn various other deities and various other people, because they know the value of the pearl. Being close doesn't mean one knows the value of the one with whom one is close. Prabhakara might be very close to Hastamalaka, doesn't know. Adi Shankaracharya ji knows what is the greatness of this boy. And Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Delight me with your answers. You indeed make my love for you ever increase. Here the love means the bliss of the self, Atmananda. For the sake of the love, please tell me. Because Adi Shankaracharya ji knows what else is their purpose and goal between them. You know what you are supposed to know. I know what I am supposed to know. I know that you know that I know. Finished. So what else is there? For the sake of only love of that blissfulness. In that blissfulness only love comes out. In tension, in agitation, in egocentricness, and so many other things will come out. But in that blissfulness only love will come out. So that is why he says, for the sake of that bliss of the self, Atmananda, please tell. And this boy also responds in infinite love, because his love is infinite only. The one who has attained that infinity, realized that infinite nature of the eternal self as one's own self, responds from that level only. Words of wisdom gush out from this boy, revealing the experience of bliss as clearly as the amalaka fruit kept on the palm. That is why it is called as Hastamalaka. It is said that a diamond is there, but if it is kept in darkness, how do you understand the greatness of the diamond? When the diamond is exposed to the light of the sun, especially the rising light of the sun, it dazzles in its light, and you see the splendor of the diamond, the glory of the diamond. You need that presence of that sunlight. Similarly, the tides in the ocean rise when there is full moon. You need that full moon for the ocean to rise, the tides to rise. For the cuckoo to sing, you need the spring to make it sing. Like the spring to the cuckoo, moon to the tides, and the sun to the diamond was the presence of Adi Shankaracharya ji to Hastamalaka. That is why he started revealing his experience of bliss divine as the essence of entire Vedanta. So the answer, what he said, we will take up tomorrow. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।